Welcome to the Pivoting Wolf. Open conversations with interesting people from varying backgrounds across several different countries around the world. Hello, everyone. This is Rhonda Harris with White Wolf Consulting, and this is another episode of the Pivoting Wolf. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Angela Izara from Dawsonville, Georgia, right?
Right.
And we're going to be having a chat about midlife, mid-career, things of that nature, as we discuss challenges, issues, and experiences related to this particular stage in life. Angela, thank you so much for joining me today. It's really nice to see you again. And I want to thank you for filling out the pre-interview survey that you did before today's conversation. So I just want to go ahead and get started and just dig right in. I was looking at your bio that you wrote, and I hate to say that, is even though I've known you for all this long, I learned some new things about you just from reading that. There were some things that I just didn't know.
Right.
But of course, you know, we did have some time apart after I left Paideia and went back to California. And then I know we had some years where we were disconnected, but it's always so nice to learn new things about people, even though you've known them for, I don't want to say how many years.
Right.
But I wanted to just dig right in and ask you to tell me a little bit more about this pivot experience that you talked about. You mentioned, you know, back in 2000, moving from Florida back to Georgia, and how that was a pivot for you. And that was kind of a start to a new, unexpected career for you. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely was the case. That was a very prominent pivot in my life. And you know, I was working at the time at the University of Florida, which I had been there for, I think, 7 years, and kind of had moved up in position within the university. And but I had hit a glass ceiling without a degree. So I knew that I was not going to be really able to further my professional career much further than where I was at that time. So I do. So, you know, I'm going along though. You know, I get paid enough to live by, but not a ton. But anyway, so I get a call from another friend of mine from high school who she happened to be a director at a telecommunications company up in Alpharetta, Georgia. That time, that was Nortel Networks, before the market crash and all that. But so she knew that I did graphic design and website design and training and development for the university. And so she had a position come open in her department that for website design to begin with, that she thought I would be a good fit for. So pretty much, I mean, it was a no-brainer because it was, you know, she was the hiring authority there. And she pretty much she had called me and offered me the job without, because she knew I could do it. And so I did go up there and talk, you know, interview kind of officially and talk to her. And then, you know, it was a no-brainer when she hired me, and I was going to make 3 times the amount that I was making at the university.
I'd say that was a pretty easy choice then, it sounds like.
But I did have to sell my house, move my family back up to Georgia, which that was okay. I mean, it was my son at the time, my older son was in middle school, so it was a little bit rough on him, but it wasn't kids adjust, so it wasn't too bad.
Right. I understand. So that does sound like a really big pivot. So I know, you know, we're talking, that was about 22 years ago.
Right.
And so, you know, in terms of what you defined as midlife, you know, which I would say, according to your own definition, you probably wouldn't have considered yourself to be midlife yet at that time.
Right. Right.
But in terms of when we talk about midlife, and the reason why I'm doing this project is because, it's been my experience that people have preconceived ideas about what you're supposed to do when you reach a certain age,
Mhm.
in your 40s and 50s even.
Right.
And I I respectfully reject a lot of those ideas because not
Mhm.
all of them are very nice. They're not very positive.
Right.
And, I believe that no matter what age we're at, we can pull on our strengths and resources to navigate any kind of a pivot. So while that
Mhm.
was 22 years ago, and you may not have been in midlife, tell me,
Mhm.
for the people who are listening and watching, what would the attributes be that you would say kind of helped you through that pivot that people could, kind of tap into as they're approaching some changes in their own lives?
Right. So attributes, well, let's see. Um, it would be that to just really to believe in yourself and know even if you're going into something that's an unknown, an unknown can be uncomfortable. Um, but just know that recognize your strengths, like you said.
Mhm.
It's really a lot of times in careers they want to focus on weaknesses, and that's really non-productive actually. It's better
Mm,
to focus on your strengths, because
I
that's
agree.
your strengths are what's going to get you, where you want to be. And everyone has different strengths, in
Mhm.
all different areas, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, in all those areas. And so, yeah, focus on know your strengths, understand
Mhm.
what your strengths are, and then just go. um, you want to just be open-minded, and that and believe in yourself, and know that you can do what you put your mind to. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But don't, when things don't work out, you're not a failure, you just keep going.
Mm. You making some very solid points and very
Mhm.
interesting. And I know that we've all heard that a lot. Believe in
Mhm.
yourself, focus on your strengths. But it's interesting to me how, even though that may seem pretty obvious, there are many people who still struggle with believing in themselves.
Yeah.
I would even say some people might find that they may not even know themselves very well.
Right.
And I talk about this, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot. You know, I think that what happens in life is we get on certain paths, and they may or may not be the paths that we chose for ourselves.
Right.
Sometimes there are, societal pressures, or, pressures from your family or your peers to do certain things, pursue certain careers. I mean, those are very common
Mhm.
things that happen to people.
Yeah.
And I was just speaking with a young lady just this past Friday, as a matter of fact, and she's quite young,
Mhm.
and she is going into a new career, and
Mhm.
she feels very passionately about this career that she wants to go into, but she is really struggling with what her friends think about it. And at least one parent is supportive and the other one's not. And this is really holding her back.
Right.
Um, I was coaching her actually on this topic. So, you
Mhm.
know, when I think about what it would take, you could have easily just relied on your husband at the time and said, well, I'll just stay here in Florida. I don't want to uproot my
Right.
family. I don't want to be uncomfortable. You mentioned that change can be uncomfortable at times. And
Mhm.
so, believing in yourself, focusing on your strengths. And I would say, if I could add to that list,
Yeah.
being willing to be uncomfortable, right?
Exactly.
Um, and then I'll add another. You have to kind of weigh out the value of the voices around you. you may have
Mhm.
some naysayers who,
Right,
even though they're well intended, they may discourage us from doing the
mhm,
things that we want to do because
right.
they think that they know what's best for us. So, in your own experience, because you've
Mhm,
had quite an interesting life, and you spent
mhm,
some time in Japan while you were in the Navy. So
right.
you've traveled. I remember you spending time in Peru when we were in high school, and so
Mhm,
you've been a few places and seen some
right.
things. So, given that, what you know, this bit of an adventure that you've got, what would you say to a person like the young lady that I was speaking with on Friday, when it comes to these?
Right.
How do you face those pressures from your
Mhm,
peers and your family, your colleagues, when they're
right,
telling you, don't do that? What do you
right.
say to that?
I think, I mean, you wanna listen to what they say, because if they're people that are in your life and that are, you know, truly passionate about your success, you wanna listen to what they say. However, you just take that in as advice, but you analyze in yourself, why do you want to do this new thing, this new adventure? What's driving you? And then you really want to focus on you. It's like you can't you if you listen to all of the negativity or whatever it is around you, you're never going to reach a goal. So you will be stuck. So if you know you want something, you go get it. And yeah, you may not make everyone happy, but in the end, when they see you succeed, that is when you have your value, and you can say, look, I knew what I wanted, and I went for it.
Mm.
And even if you don't succeed, it's okay, because you just get back up and you keep trying. And that's better than sitting back and letting other people kind of drive where your life is going to go. So,
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, I do think there's definitely value in at least evaluating what others say,
mhm, yeah.
because I'm a bit conflicted, because I will say that I myself, when I was young, I had certain things that I wanted to do. I wasn't necessarily supported in those things, and I have
Mhm,
regrets. I not trying to be negative about it, but I would be mm, it would be untrue if I were to say that I have no regrets for the things that I didn't do.
right.
And that sounds
I
so
think we
cliche. There's
all.
a there's a bumper sticker, there's some
Mhm,
famous saying, you
yeah.
won't regret, you'll regret the things you didn't do, something like
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
So I get
I think
that.
we all have that. I think at our
Yeah.
age, at our
Well,
age, there's no way that there's things that you regret doing and not doing.
right, right. So
And
I think the part that I'm conflicted by is, as a parent, I have tried, have conversations with my own daughter
mhm,
about things that I thought that she should do, whatever, and of course she has
right.
gone her own way and done her own thing. So,
Yeah.
I can understand from the perspective of the person who's trying to tell someone what they should or shouldn't do.
Right.
Because, there is to an extent, depending on the dynamic of the relationship and the unique situation, because every situation is different. Some
Sure.
people may actually know better than others,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I do. I'm just saying that I understand how frustrating that whole dynamic can be when you've got one person here and another person there. They both have very valid reasons for
Mhm,
their thoughts about things.
right.
It's just that I think it's really key to to overcome all of that, like you said, to really know yourself and
Mhm,
know what you're capable of. Because I think that even if like the things that I regret not doing, for example, had I known myself a little bit better, I may not necessarily have done the things that were asked of me anyway.
right.
because there were some
Right.
things that, I was told, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and I just didn't do them. But I
Mhm.
probably, and this is the key, I could have saved myself some grief if I would have had the intuition enough to pause and evaluate myself and really know myself better. But, unfortunately,
Exactly.
when you're really young, sometimes you just don't
Mhm.
you just don't get there. Some people do get there
Yeah.
at an earlier age and some people just don't.
Yeah.
Now, when we are in our 40s and our 50s and we're still having these questions around what should we do? What direction should we go in? Oh, gee, I think I've been on a wrong path.
Right.
Um, this is extremely critical now because we don't have time on our side as much as we would
Right.
have if we were in our 20s and we're kind of taking our time to figure
Right.
it out.
Mhm.
So on
Mhm.
that note, I want to just touch on one of your answers. I asked you, what does the term midlife mean to you? And you said that I'm getting old and time is running out. So, I mean, that seems like an obvious statement, but in your own words, tell me, what does that mean to you?
Um,
Time for what? Time is running out
time
for.
is time is running out to do some of the things that I would like to do that I haven't been able to do yet.
Mhm, mhm.
And sometimes I don't even know what those are yet. I just know that, in 20 years, who knows, I could have, the older you get, the more injuries and body problems and health problems you have, and
Yeah.
hopefully be somewhat healthy, but who knows? I mean, you never know what's going to happen when you get into those ages, those 70s. And
Mm.
so, when you're in your 20s, it's like that seems so far off. But when you're in your 50s, 20 years, that's not very much.
Well, I know, because I think about when I
Mhm.
read the paper, he said 2000. I'm like, that seemed like that was
Yeah,
last
that's
month.
like I know, and that I know, and it's crazy. Feels like yesterday that was that. But yeah, I mean, time goes by faster when you're older too, as we
It
all
does
know.
seem that. I know. I didn't
Mhm.
believe it when people used to say that to me when I was, oh, they're
Mhm.
just making that up or they're
Right,
imagining things.
right.
But no, it goes
Mhm.
by
It
insanely
does.
quickly,
Yeah.
which, I think drives this sense of urgency to
Mhm.
do things. And, this is why I am such an advocate of get out there and do whatever it is that you feel like you need to do because time is running out.
Yeah.
Even, and I would say, because no matter what age you are, tomorrow is not promised to anybody.
I was just gonna say that. You don't know how many tomorrows you have left. It doesn't matter
Right.
what age you are. So when you have opportunities and doors that are open to you that you feel strongly about, that's when you need to take them. And yeah, and don't look back.
So on that note, Angela, I have to ask you
Yeah.
because I was really quite intrigued when I read that one of the things that you would like to do is to have your furniture refinishing business.
Hmm.
So are you getting on with that?
Yeah, so it's slow. I mean, it's something I enjoy doing. It's something I know I can make money at,
Hmm.
but the market right now is tough. To be able to get the value of what I do
Hmm.
out of it, right? So I still do it because I like to do it. And I do, as you know me, I do a lot of other crafts and things like actually we're getting ready for the Moonshine Festival in a
Oh,
couple of
nice.
weekends up
Okay.
here in Dawsonville, and I've got a booth that I will be selling my refinished jewelry boxes and
Hmm.
wreaths. And if you could see behind me, my office right now, it looks like an Hobby Lobby threw up.
Oh.
there's stuff everywhere. So I'm working on that stuff, and I enjoy doing it, and I would love to be able to further market myself.
Hmm.
And actually have talked to my younger son, William, who's he's very, very much kind of like an entrepreneur. So
Hmm.
he's always like, Mom, so are you really serious about this? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, I am, but at the same time, you're like, okay, but is it really going to pay the bills? It's like,
Well, Angela, you just have to believe in yourself.
I know, right? So
I'm
he's
gonna I'm
like,
gonna give you a dose of your own medicine.
I know, right, exactly. And here we are, like midlife, and you're on that ledge, and you're going, okay, I like what I do
Hmm.
professional wise, but I would be totally fine not doing that and
Right.
doing what I really love to do, which is, art and stuff. So William's always saying, well, Mom, you gotta get it together. You gotta get out there. You gotta make videos. You gotta do Instagram. You gotta do TikTok.
Mhm.
You gotta do all
Yeah.
this.
Well,
You
he
know,
is he is not wrong. I mean,
right.
that is what it takes.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of it, isn't it? So
Hmm.
when you're feeling this pull and you're feeling like time's running out and you've got this sense of urgency, I know personally that you've always been a very creative person. I remember that
Hmm.
from years ago. And so what's stopping you? That's the big question, right?
Right.
So it's that discomfort, right? The
It
discomfort of the
it is. Some
possibility
of it.
that, well, I
Hmm.
got to keep doing what I'm doing because I got to pay the bills. I know you wrote about that
Hmm.
in your answers, when you said that you would be, like you just said, I don't know anybody who, unless they're just madly in love with their job or career,
Right.
who wouldn't welcome the opportunity to, not have to do that out of necessity,
Right.
and be able to fill their time with other things.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I totally feel you on that, but I want to
Mhm.
encourage you to carve out the time
I
to do
know.
it because like we just said, 20 years
I
will go
know.
by so quickly. And that sounds like a pretty um, physical thing that you're doing, with
Mhm.
the furniture
Right.
refinishing. That's not
Right.
like sitting at a laptop, you know,
Right.
doing digital work,
Blogging.
like what I do, where I could do that from
Mhm.
anywhere, which I'm
Right.
very grateful to be able to do that from
Sure.
speaking to you from the Netherlands right now.
Yeah, I know.
I never imagined that I would actually end up living in Europe, which was one of my lifelong dreams when I was
Oh,
young. Remember,
mhm. I
I know
know
you.
that was one of your dreams to always, yeah,
Yeah, because you
be in
took
Europe.
Spanish and I was taking French, right? And
Oh,
I
yeah.
was bent on moving to France. And
Yeah, right.
yeah, well, I kind of missed the target a little bit, but at least I ended up on the right continent. So,
Right. Yep, across the
um,
pond.
so with that being said, I would encourage you to maybe just take a little step at a time and
Mhm.
just do one
Yeah,
little thing and then another little thing and another little thing and
right.
break this big audacious hairy goal down into
And so,
little
yeah,
bits and bites
exactly.
until you can, as they
Mhm.
say, eat that frog. That's a
Right.
quite a good book. So
Yeah.
one thing I want to ask you to elaborate on, I asked you what 3 words would you use to describe the experience that you're having right now, and you
Mhm.
said tired, optimistic, and hopeful. I want to ask you to elaborate on that, but I want to point out that I really like your optimism because when I was
Mhm.
reading through your responses, you do sound very optimistic and hopeful. So
Mhm.
tell me about your tiredness, your optimism, and your hopefulness.
Yeah, so tired is just okay, tired of working for the last how long? 35,
Forever.
40 years, forever.
Can we count babysitting? Because
Just
I think
yeah,
I think we started when we were like 12.
exactly, right. Yep. Just yeah, just tired in that sense, not and then it just seems like, life is kind of tough right now,
Mhm.
for a lot of people. And just it's just the nature of things, and there's a different place, there's a different normal after COVID. And
Mhm.
I don't think it's ever going to go back to where it was before.
Yeah.
Some of it's positive change, like being able, more companies allowing people to work from home when it's the totally feasible thing to do, um,
Mhm.
and give them time, to be home and with their families at the same time. So that's a positive
Absolutely.
thing. And then, but there's negative too. The economy and everything that everyone's going through right now.
Yeah.
And it's just tired, the tiredness is just, kind of just the day-to-day mundane, you know,
Mhm.
living, and tired of, you know, having to pay the bills and figure out where the money's going to come from and all of that,
Right.
right? Um, but on the flip side of that, there's optimism too, because it's not all bad. There's so many people that are so way worse, or way, actually, I'm in a good place. I'm comfortable.
Mhm.
So that's a positive thing for me. I don't struggle, which is good with,
Mhm.
with finances or anything. So I'm still raising my now 17-year-old. So that's can be a challenge.
Mm.
So, but it's a good thing. And I know, and that's another thing, is I know it's not too far off around the corner when he's going to be not here. And then you have now I had my children very far apart,
Mm.
18 years apart.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like I never, a lot of people my age have already gone through the what do you
Empty
call it?
nest.
The empty nest, right?
Mhm.
Um, I haven't gone through it yet, but it's coming. So that's one of those things that's like, and I don't look at it as a negative thing, like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss him. I'm excited for him, because I'm just excited really to see what he's going to do, because he is so incredibly intelligent.
Mhm.
I have no idea what direction he's going to go in,
Right.
but I'm excited to see it. But I'm, on that part I'm fine with him going. The part that's a little uncomfortable is just being alone. Like, what, okay, now, okay, you've been raising children for however long, right? Well, let's see, 30, 20, whatever, 30, 35 years.
Right.
Um, and it's like, what am I going to do with myself? It's
Mm.
like, okay, this is where, okay, I need some goals. I know I want to be here. I want to set realistic goals, like a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10, and because I know I don't want to be in this house, because it's way too much work for me. And I know, at some point I want to move closer to I'm already in the mountains, but more in the mountains,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
a log cabin, and less, less work, around the house. So I have time to do like the furniture and things like that.
Right. Well, that is definitely a very valid concern, and that is going to be quite a change for you. I
Hmm.
have recently spoken with some others who have gone through that, and I'm telling you, I'm warning you actually.
I know. I
It
know.
can bring you to tears. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember feeling so out of sorts.
Right.
And then for
Yeah.
myself, it was even more difficult because, I moved here and
Sure.
alone. And,
Right.
I had made the plan so that, my daughter would move with me. That was
Right.
the plan, but she decided not to. But of course, the house
Right.
was sold and everything in it. And, the ship had already sailed. And
Right.
I got on the
Right.
plane and I came here alone. And that was
That's scary.
really hard,
Yeah. I know.
And
I can imagine that would have
yeah.
been, yeah.
And even though she's technically grown,
Hmm.
you never stop worrying about your kids. I'll be 80 years old still texting her, "Did you get home safely?"
Oh, I know. I've
I
got a
know
30.
I,
35-year-old too.
yeah, I know
You know.
I annoy the heck out of her. Are you home? Are you home yet? Did you get, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's a mom
Just,
thing. It's probably a
yeah.
dad thing too, but
Mhm.
when you do get to the empty nest phase, which I was not prepared for that because I had this plan, we're both moving to the Netherlands.
I know.
He's a
Right.
business partner in my company here. And,
Mhm.
we set that up, and I had a lot of visions for her with her music career that she could, definitely
Exactly.
continue here in Europe and have some really interesting experiences. But, at the end of the day, that just wasn't her plan in her heart,
Right.
right? So
Right.
it was very hard to go through that empty nest phase. It's difficult if you are not alone.
Mhm.
One of the gentlemen who I spoke with recently, who is going through that right now, he's
Right.
married.
Right.
So he's got two kids, and one, I think, I might get this wrong, but anyway, one just went off to college, and the other
Mhm.
one, who's older, is already in college and has been gone already.
Right.
And he was notably upset about it. I remember a conversation that we had, and he was choked up about it. And
Right.
he even was in this moment just reevaluating, like, how's the dynamic of his marriage going to change now? There's
Exactly.
so much wrapped up into being parents that becomes so much a part of your identity, and
Mhm.
it takes work, and it takes deliberate effort to rediscover yourself as an individual, not
Yeah.
primarily as a parent first, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
get ready
true.
for it, girl, because it's
Oh, I know. I
it's a
know.
it's a trip. I
Mhm.
I would I can't tell you what to do,
That,
other than to
yeah.
do things to prepare yourself for it.
Right.
Definitely, friends and family, who can be there to support that.
Mhm.
And basically, that's a major pivot in
Yeah.
life for those of us who, have,
Mhm.
experienced grown children. And the other thing too, I consider myself to be part of the sandwich generation.
Mhm.
I have an aging father, and I worry about him. I call
Right.
and check on him too. I'm a pain in his neck as well. You
Mhm.
okay? How you feeling today? So
Yep.
I'm in between
I do too.
little Miss Busybody, but I'm
Right.
not really. Maybe I should pay attention to myself. So,
Mhm.
but that
That's and that brings up a whole nother dynamic of midlife, and that is your children are moving on, you're empty nesting,
yeah,
and then 2 years or however long, not too much further from that, bam, you're taking care of a parent
yeah,
because your parents are now, unable to, not every parent, but the ones that have issues,
mm-hmm,
a lot of people our age in our 50s and 60s
mm-hmm,
find yourself having to take care of a parent and even maybe sometimes having them move in with you, and then that's kind of the path your life is going to be if that
right,
happens. And that's a tough one because you might have had plans and visions and all of this stuff, and you have to put those aside just like you did all those years with your kids.
mm-hmm,
And because I mean, my parents are aging as well. Luckily, they're
mm-hmm,
both in pretty good health and good shape right now. But
mm-hmm,
my dad is in his 80s, and
mm-hmm.
it won't be too much longer here. I don't know. I mean, he's pretty healthy, but you just don't know. So
Yeah, I know.
that's a tough one.
It's
Mhm.
definitely, people. I know people are probably wondering, like, well, why did you move to another country? That this was coming up. Um, it wasn't to be selfish. It wasn't something that
No,
I did because
yeah,
I thought I was going to do it forever. And I still don't have an answer for that question. I know you've asked me, when are you coming back? I'm like, yeah, I know. I rented an apartment
yeah.
a year ago, and I've been paying rent on it for over a
I know.
year, and
I'm
I've
like,
never
what is
stopped.
she doing?
Why don't you go by my apartment for me and wave to it on your way
Okay.
to
I
Sam's
can
Club
do
or
that.
something. And it's beautifully furnished and
Oh,
decorated
no,
because I shipped all of my things from
seriously.
here to there. But that's
But
another story for another day that probably
but the thing
requires.
is I know, as I know you, when you say, well, at some point it's going, but I don't know when. It's because I know that you're involved in something, because you have always just had such a drive to you, and when you have an idea or a vision about something, you're a go-getter, and I know that.
Well,
So,
thank you for
and
that. It's
yeah,
either
I
a
know that.
go-getter or that dog that just keeps chasing the ball around the backyard or something.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a lot of things, and yeah. So, but that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm still vacillating on that decision. I had made
I
up my
know.
mind and shipped all my things, and then
Yeah,
my mind changed again,
I know.
know.
I thought when you said that, I was like, "Yep, Rhonda's doing her thing, so I'll just wait."
I'll be there. I will be there. If
I
I could
know.
ever get out of this darn airport. I don't know if you've seen what's going on in the airport here in Amsterdam. It's a nightmare, which we'll talk about another
Yeah,
time. But
yeah.
but back to your point about, this is a very, very interesting subject because, you know, just when you're trying to rediscover yourself as an individual and get back to that person,
Mhm.
and so you're shedding the parental role,
Right.
yeah, I mean, and that was the point that I was trying to make is, I got here, i I was glad that I came here, and then COVID, yeah, really,
Right.
once the inability to travel freely, because that was always part of my plan, was like, oh well, I'm just a plane ride away. I'll, if I need to come
Mhm.
home, I'll just come home, and do what I need to
Yeah.
do. um but having that ability to be mobile taken,
Mhm.
really changed a lot for me and put a lot of things into perspective, a completely unexpected perspective.
Exactly.
Not being able to easily fly there because of travel restrictions. And
Mhm.
likewise, Jordan and my dad not being able to come here. I
Right.
haven't seen them now in 3 years in
Right.
person. And
Right.
that really, really, really affected me, and was
Mhm.
probably a big driving factor of me saying, you know what, I can't see myself living in another country when my family is so far away. And now my dad is at a point where, I mean, he's in pretty good health, but I don't think that traveling is as feasible for him
Right.
now.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's not in his 80s yet, but he's getting there. He's 79. I think he'll be
Mhm.
80 this coming year. And
Right.
mobility becomes an issue.
It
I mean,
does. Mhm.
traversing through those big long airports, and the
Yeah.
lines and the queues, and oh, it's
It's
just,
exhausting.
it is
Yeah.
exhausting. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just like,
It
I
is.
know at my age, even though I don't have
It's
health problems, whatever,
it's exhausting for me,
it's
right?
just exhausting thinking about trying to deal with that airport in Amsterdam right now, which I'm not going to do.
Oh my gosh, I
I am
know.
not going to do that. I literally have already made up my mind.
Nope, nope.
I'm going to drive to Dusseldorf, and I'm going to fly out of Germany to get home.
Yeah,
I've already
there
made the
you go.
decision. That's it. I just have to
Mhm.
figure out the logistics. But
Right.
um, yeah, but that
Mm.
really changed a lot over COVID. It's like, oh yeah, imagine a life where you can't just easily have access to your loved ones. And that really
Yeah.
changed for me. And what
Mhm.
made me think differently though, after I shipped all my things, I don't know if you can hear the echo. My apartment is literally empty here.
Yeah.
I have a nice comfy chair. I have this chair that I'm sitting in.
Right,
I have another comfy chair, which Murphy's laying in right now, and a desk.
right.
That's
That's
it.
funny.
um, but what changed my mind and said, wait a minute, you're not done yet. You
Mhm,
came here for a reason,
mhm.
and you haven't been able to do the things that you wanted to do.
Right.
And this is that midlife pull,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
now we're back to talking about time's running out. How am
Right.
I going to be able to do the things that I wanted to do? Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm tired too, but I remain hopeful, and optimistic, just like you.
Right.
And I want to make use of what one of my colleagues referred to as an inconvenient bit of time. This is what
That's a good way to
he,
put it, right?
he's
Because that
British, and his
that
humor is so.
I know that inconvenient bit of time goes
Yeah,
by in a flash.
that's this, but I mean,
Yeah.
but here it is. And it's, when you think about it, it's not just about the number, how old will I live to be? It's how long will I be able to physically do the things that I
Mhm.
want to do?
Right.
Because we could make it to 80 or 90 with technology and whatever.
Mhm.
Frankly, I don't want to live too long,
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's just exhausting, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
but um but think about the quality of life, and how long do you
Mhm.
have? So we've got this window, we've got this window, and then we've got that other little window where we're alive,
But
and
you can't.
hopefully,
Yeah.
not too bad off. But even if I was physically able to, I don't know that when I'm in my 80s that I want to be jet setting around the world. I don't want to do that, because there are other things
Mhm.
that may happen in life. I might have grandchildren.
Mhm.
I don't want
Exactly.
to be in a foreign
Mhm.
country living far away from my grandchildren. So yes,
Right.
I will be back to the US. I mean, that's
Mhm.
already been decided, because I
Yeah.
did have kind of I envisioned myself retiring here and staying here, and I had all this vision. Oh, I'm gonna have a nice little house on the beach, and I envisioned my life living by a beach, walking my golden retriever on the beach. I got the golden retriever. I
Mhm.
live by the beach.
Right.
Don't have a house,
Right.
but my apartment's kind of cute. Um, and I just had this vision, and I
Mhm.
I, I actualized part of it. Got the golden retriever. She's there taking
Yeah.
over my chair right now.
Yeah. I know.
Um, but I mean, I might have to be on a beach in the Carolinas or something. I
Yeah.
just don't
I
see,
mean,
because even my daughter asked me, well, what are you going to do if I get married and have kids? I'm like, and then for a minute, I was like, well, I guess you'll just have to send them to summer in the Netherlands with Granny.
summer with
I
Granny.
have my
It's
little
a good
bougie
thing.
answer. My little bougie
Right.
answer. I will give them such an international lifestyle, Jordan. They will spend their summers with Nana in.
Exactly. I know, right?
But I mean, let's be honest. I
Realistically.
love to go to Home Goods, and I
Mhm.
love Halloween and trick or treat and Christmas. And if I have grandchildren, I will be on a plane so fast
Oh,
it
I
will make the
know.
whole world spin.
Yeah.
I'm I'm not I'm not saying that needs to happen anytime soon though. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
I've got
yeah,
two, so I
yeah, I
know.
know, I
Um,
know. Yeah,
grandkids,
right.
yeah,
They change. That's
they change.
another
That's a whole
change.
nother thing that because yeah, I mean, you can have all these plans, but you also have that extended family and your grandkids in a lot of ways are they're not that your children aren't special, but grandkids are super, super special.
Yeah.
And and to be close to them for me at least, because family is very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even see them as much as I'd like to, and they live like an hour from me. but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um they're just precious, and that's time again. I mean, my first grandchild, she's already 12, and it's like, oh my
I
gosh, I mean,
am.
the time just goes by like before. It's like they're going to be grown before I know it.
I know that. Can we just stop for a minute? Can I just
Yeah.
tell you, she's not my granddaughter, but I'm tripping a little bit here, okay?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
was going through some old photographs. I still have the pictures from the first photo shoot that I did of her when she was,
Of Tegan. Yeah.
yeah, and she was running around.
Yeah.
She was running around at the avenues at Forsyth,
Right.
remember?
Right. Uh-huh.
And
Mhm.
there's this great picture of her where she's got an Atlanta Braves cap on and she's looking up into the camera. And
Oh my
that's like,
gosh.
do you
You
have
gotta
that
send me, you
image?
gotta send me those because you know Tegan is the biggest Braves fan right now at
Really? You know
all
what?
time. Like
I
she
will find
watches
it.
baseball like you would. She doesn't play, she does jujitsu, but
I will find it. I think it might still be on the business Facebook
oh,
page.
oh wow,
So
awesome.
when I find it,
Okay.
I'll tag you in it. And
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah, because I still have
Yeah.
photos from my very when I first opened that
Mhm.
business. Gosh,
Right.
that was 2012. Yeah,
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah. She would
Oh
have been
wow.
too, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was because I remember
Yeah.
she wouldn't sit
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
I was chasing her around with my
Chasing
camera,
her
and it
around.
was, honey, it was hot outside. Okay. I
Mhm.
was like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And I was like, okay, Jared, okay, we're done. And we need to go have a beer now because like it's hot
Yeah.
and it's hot. And
Yeah,
and
I
we're out here
know.
outside in Georgia heat
Mhm.
and it was just so funny. It was a
Yeah.
very fun day. Thankfully, it was the morning time, and it
Yeah,
it wasn't too hot.
definitely.
But I remember that. But I've got those cute pictures. So yeah, she's
She'll be 13 in January, a
wow.
teenager. It's like, "What
I
happened?"
know. That's just. I mean,
Oh,
I just wow. That's
mhm,
just. I'm sorry. That just does my head in.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
well, I want to just you had mentioned that there were some subtopics that we wanted to talk about. I know we've got just a few more minutes,
Yeah.
but tell me about so we've talked about the changing dynamics, the relationship with children. We've covered that. Tell
Mhm,
me more about your career aspirations. I know you mentioned the furniture business, but do you have
mhm.
any other career aspirations or any other things that you would like to
Um,
explore during this inconvenient bit of time?
yeah, right. So let's, if I realistically, we work until we're what, 65, 67. So I've got another 10, 12 years of work.
Mm,
So career wise, there are goals that I have in my current job
mhm.
and moving into more of a people leadership role, which would be a promotion. I don't necessarily want to be like a director of anything, but
Yeah.
like in my organization, it would be like a senior manager that would be over 7 to 8 people. So, I've been focusing on that, on leadership training and my leaders have been focused, I'm sorry about the dog,
That's
um,
okay.
focused on helping me get there. And one good thing about Verizon is they're super, super supportive of of growing your career and it's especially for women also. So I will tell you, I just got done recently with a program that Verizon has. It's called Women of the World, and
Mhm.
it's a very select few women every year that go through this program of mentorship and leadership and how to progress your career and move to the places that move to where you want to go, where your goals are, and breaking those barriers, and really, it's an incredible program that Verizon has,
That sounds lovely. Well,
and
shout out to Verizon.
yeah,
That's I
right,
really like to hear that because a lot of companies talk about you know caring about these types of things, but
hmm
maybe not necessarily actually doing anything about it. So it's really
yeah,
nice to hear that
hmm
somebody is in leadership there is really putting their money where their mouth is and they're actually doing the things that they say they're going to do. So I'm
oh,
very
they're
glad to
doing,
hear that. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
hmm so yeah, that's kind of what I'm focusing on professional wise right now, because I don't. I could also, there's also an area of not of moving to a different organization within Verizon.
Uh-huh.
And that would be learning and development. And because that's in my background too. And I love training and I love learning and development.
Mm.
And that would be a complete pivot, but a kind of semi pivot
Yeah.
within the same company, but it would be a
Mhm.
totally different role and job. And it would be one of those kind of scared, uncomfortable moments for a bit. But that's another kind of thing that I'm thinking about too. I mean, I keep my
Mhm.
eyes open for openings in those departments and potentially
Well,
doing that.
I think that that's quite remarkable, and that does seem to be a trait that you have that you've shared. You know, when you talked about that first big pivot,
Hmm.
moving into that uncomfortable space, moving your family back to Georgia, you
Right.
know, those are definitely traits that are going to see you through, you know,
Hmm.
for the next number of years that you have to work. And I
Hmm.
would ask you even, you know, if you're interested in growing in that direction with your career, which I think is wonderful,
Hmm.
would you feel that doing so would kind of offset some of those feelings that you had that you explained earlier when you talked about the day in day out, like when I asked you to, you
Hmm.
know, describe being tired, you know, you're like, well, I'm just kind of tired of like the mundaneness,
The
right?
everyday,
So, you know, maybe this
you know.
career challenge
Mhm.
might help to offset that. And that's another thing that I wanted just to throw out there for
Mhm.
anybody who's listening. You know, when we talk about pivots and we talk about midlife changes and things of that nature, it doesn't have to be run away to a foreign country by yourself. It doesn't have to be backpacking through the mountains and living in a van, like all this stuff you see on Instagram. And you know, it
Right.
doesn't have to be that far out there, you know.
Mhm.
um, just finding a path to get on
Mhm.
that will stretch your goals,
Right.
stretch you, stretch your goals,
Mhm.
put you in a little bit of discomfort and keep things shaken up a little bit and
I think at the same
trying
time,
some new things.
yeah, at the same time doing that, like you said, it kind of it gives you a new drive,
Mhm.
and it's something new, and it can be scary and uncomfortable, but at the same time exciting. And I think it can be, you know, something that would be positive, because yeah, that would definitely, something new like that would help me not feel tired of, because it
Mhm.
wouldn't be this it's I've been doing this same job now for 22 years,
Uh-huh.
and that's a long time to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So, something new and positive, and not that my current job isn't positive, but you know, just it's just a different path. It's a different experience. It's learning new things. I love to learn. I love to, you know, learn new things
Hmm.
and figure things out and things like that. So, you know, that would definitely help my feeling of just being tired of the everyday, because
Right.
all of a sudden it would not be every day. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to pay attention. I got to, you know, learn this whole new
Mhm.
thing right here that I'm not
It's a
used to.
challenge. It's up to
Yeah.
keeps you on your toes. Well, I
Hmm.
just want to just say that how much I admire that you have stayed in the same job for as long as you have, because
Hmm.
you know, I like to shine the light on something a little bit different every now and again, because I think that
Hmm.
with all that we're hearing in the news these days about people quiet quitting or just up and quitting or
Hmm.
um, being generally dissatisfied with their jobs and their work
Yeah.
situation. And listen, I'm not I'm not downplaying that. I'm not judging that,
Right.
because as someone who has definitely been in that space for oh often,
Hmm.
often the majority of my career, probably I would say, you know, there was some level of dissatisfaction, but I attribute that to probably not being in the right place.
Hmm.
Because you know, there are things that I wish that I would have done differently.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very grateful for the career that I've carved out for myself, and now I feel
Mhm.
like I'm in the right place. You know, I'm
Yeah.
self-employed. I've got great clients. I'm so thankful for that, and I
Good.
wouldn't be where I am now had it not been for me being where I was before. But you know, so,
Exactly.
but I just did want to say that I don't discount anybody's feelings about how they feel about their job,
Mhm.
because, you know, sometimes places are toxic and they're
Oh, yeah.
unbearable. And sometimes people are asked to endure and tolerate the intolerable. And I think
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. And they need to leave.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to
Definitely.
hear someone who's actually content with their job. They have wonderful things to say about their employer. I am so
Mhm.
jazzed about that. I want to hear more stories about that. I think I might have to start a whole new series on, hey, if you love your job, I want to hear from you, you
Right.
know,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
there's a lot of
Mhm.
grumpiness going on right now around
Yeah.
work, and
Mhm.
yeah, rightfully
I
so.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
A lot of company. The sad thing is, I mean, I'm lucky enough to be in a company that just empowers people
uh-huh.
and that cares. They truly do care about their employees and take care of us. But I know that's unfortunately that's not the norm. Unfortunately, most companies out there really could care less about their employees, and they don't give them the support and the training and the or even the pay. They don't give them
Mhm.
or benefits. They don't really,
Yeah,
to them, it's, one person's as good as the next off the street.
right.
And that's sad. And if you're in that situation, you move and you find a company that does support you. Find
Right.
a company that backs you, that that gives you the tools and resources for you to be able to grow in your career.
Mm. And that is very, very true what you said. And but
Mhm.
I hope that things are changing. You know,
Yeah,
I feel like things are changing a little bit. I
yeah,
think that when people realize their worth, and they stand up for themselves, and they do
mhm,
leave, someone's going to figure it out sooner or later. You can't
yeah,
just keep churning people out like that. You can't afford to just let people just walk out the door
right,
and not care
yeah.
about that.
Mhm.
I have a good friend who's getting ready to go. She's going to be a pilot,
Oh,
and
wow, nice.
yeah,
Well,
talk about a
that,
pivot.
yeah, and that whole, um,
That whole industry is
air
getting ready to
industry
have a
right now
big
is kind of
shortage.
it's kind of upside down.
Yeah, I know, because she
And
she she
going,
told me that
yeah,
she's talked to some folks, and because of the age restrictions,
yeah,
a lot of pilots are getting ready to retire, and
right,
there's going to be a shortage. And
right.
she she I got to get her on this show, because she has spent the better part of her adult life pursuing medical school. She wanted to be a doctor,
Wow.
and she wanted
That,
nothing more than that. And
wow.
but we've talked several times.
Mhm.
She moved to Australia
Wow, that's a nice place to move to.
and she lived there for 2 years and got her master's.
Mhm,
This was how far her pursuit took her. Okay. But she just kept
mhm.
running into obstacles and obstacles, and it's just gotten so gut wrenching. And I asked her, I was like, well, is there anything else that you might have wanted to do? And
Mhm.
and I try to peel back, and this is what I was talking about earlier. And it kind of she came to the realization that she might have been pursuing this doctor bit because she wanted validation from her mom.
Mhm. There you
And
go.
I've just felt
Yeah,
like, oh
you're right.
man, there's so many stories like that out there,
There
like,
are.
like
Yeah.
she was tearful when she was talking to me about it. And I felt that
Mhm.
pain, and I was like, oh my gosh. But
That's, yeah,
the happy side of it is now she's gleefully moving toward what she wants.
she wants. Yeah,
And
that's great.
she's got good
Mhm.
support to do it, and
Mhm.
she's given herself permission. And see,
There you go.
that's the other
Give
piece
yourself,
too.
mhm,
Some people just
permission.
cannot give themselves permission to buck the norm and go against
Do
the
something
grain of
different.
their family,
Right.
their, oh, will my
Mhm.
parents approve? You know, that is so powerful, you
Yeah,
know?
and the other part of that too is like feeling like, oh my gosh, but I've wasted so much time if I go do this other thing. And
Yeah.
it's like you've got to let it, that's time in the past, and you just have to let that go. But understand that nothing, nothing in life, no experience is a waste of time, because whatever you do, all of the different careers and different, paths that you're on in your life, they bring you to where you are now. So whatever it was, some of the things that she might have like learned in medical school, or she going through, just whatever she went through in the last however
Hmm.
many years, has led her to be able to be in the place where she is now, to give herself permission. And some of those experiences probably will be a strength for her in her new path, right?
That is, that is gold right there.
Mhm.
And we are out of time.
I know.
Um,
I
but
see
I want to,
that.
but
So,
I'm so glad we end on that note, because
yeah.
that is, I think, something that everybody can take away.
Mhm.
I myself have been guilty of, "Ooh, I've been doing this for, in the field that
Mhm.
I've been in, for over 20 years." And then
Right.
you get down on yourself, and you either regret because you feel like, oh, I spent all this time, or you grip onto it and you won't let go of it because I've spent so much
Because you
time.
spent so,
I'm
yeah.
dug in. Yeah, give yourself permission to let it go.
Mhm.
Angela, it has been such a joy to speak with you today, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time. And thank you so much. And I will see you when I
Yes,
get there.
hopefully soon. Looking forward to it, and thank you, Rhonda.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.